Hi, welcome back to Elements in Focus and Happy New Year 2025. This video should be going out at the beginning of the year, so hope you had a great New Year's Eve and a good start to 2025. This topic that we're going to talk about comes up often, Grant. We've got a new year, and should we be looking at a new investment strategy for the year? That's a really good question. It comes up a lot during the beginning of the year, towards the end of the previous year. So just walk us through your thought process with that question.
Yeah, great. And thank you for teaming me up for this, Aaron. And this question does often come up, and more often on the heels of a regime change or power change of any kind. And since we're coming off of a presidential cabinet transition, a power transition in Washington, this question is often on individuals' minds. And so the first thing I'll say is this. When it comes to a new investment strategy, remember the most potent strategy long term is to have a process that you feel comfortable with based on your desire and ability to take on risk, right? Or to take on speculation, building long-term plan and just tweaking that along the way. The danger of this question can sometimes, Aaron, lead us into believing that the philosophy we had last year needs to be completely revamped because we need to change it for what's coming in the new year. The problem with that is oftentimes we make knee-jerk reactions. We don't need to, especially if the process we've laid in place is very sound. I'll say one of the things our asset allocation team or portfolio managers do really well is talk a lot in their meetings that they do like this, called the market carver, about maintaining a long process and what small tweaks along the way can do as long as your process is sound. So what I would say is this: if you're going to look at updating an investment strategy going into the new year, the first thing I would say is make sure you rebalance your 401k plans and your other asset mixes based on how the year performed last year. Great example, right? Towards the end of last year, we had a nice market run up led by technologies and other parts of the market, and that may have, depending on how you're allocated in your retirement accounts, overweighted you in a certain way. So rebalancing yourself or bringing that balance back to normal, back to where your process normally should be, is very healthy, just in case that side of what grew the market last year tends to stumble, or begins to stumble, because all of that gain you could have locked in place now is at risk. So automatic rebalancing is great. That's all. It happens in 401k plans, but also make sure you do it in your private accounts. The other element I'll say is this. We talked a lot about that. We talked quite a bit about it last year, and that is, be careful developing an entire new strategy based on political outcomes, right? Now, it is very true that there are elements of certain parties that perform better based on certain policies. That doesn't always mean that party is going to follow the same trajectory. So just be careful trying to plan yourself around a political candidate, etc., etc. Make sure, first and foremost, the strategy you're trying to deploy matches first your appetite for risk and your goals in achieving the outcome down the road in your long-term investable horizon. So I would say, if you're trying to find a way to see what that is, if you find yourself constantly jumping between strategy and strategy year over year, we would love to have a conversation with you and build a more sustainable long-term vision based on your goals and your appetite for risk. We'd love to have that complimentary meeting with you. Please do not hesitate. If this is something that's been on your heart and you're like, yeah, maybe Grant, these words are finally hitting me for the first time, call us, 800-928-4001. We'd love to engage with the conversation. Before we wrap up, Aaron, is there anything else you would like to add to this conversation as well?
Just one more piece when you're talking about rebalancing. You mentioned accounts, so like a 401k account, and you're looking at the rebalance structure. Think about it from a tax perspective too. So if you're doing a rebalance inside of a 401k, an IRA, or a Roth IRA, you don't have a lot of tax implications, very minimal inside of those. If you have a brokerage investment account where you're doing a rebalance and you're generating capital gains, you want to be cognizant of what type of taxation that's going to create. So just be very mindful when you're doing a rebalance, what type of account you're doing it in, because it could create some taxation if you're not paying attention.
Well said. Well said. And if that's something that you're wanting to, again, to consider, and there's all elements that you need a professional to help you with, because it gets very complicated, please call us at the number we stated. Schedule your complimentary next steps meeting. If you have basic questions, do not hesitate to reach out to us. Talk to FEG at yourlifeafterwork.com. One of our team members will be more than happy to engage with you. But again, for those of you that have been with us for a while, well, another year under the belt. For those of you that are joining us brand new, Happy New Year. Stay warm if you're in a place where it's getting a little chilly, but always be well, be merry, and we'll see you in the next one.